This will be the first and last time I do this. SERA Economic Redevelopment Authority will come to order. Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Has the meeting notice been publicized?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it has.
Thank you. At this time, we are going to administer the oath to Paula Duffy to be a commissioner with SERA. If you would stand up and...
Paula, welcome to the meeting.
Thank you.
And Joe, since we're both attorneys, we both can do it. Joe asked me to do it tonight.
Okay.
So raise your right hand. I
I, Paula Duffy,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will perform the duties of a commissioner of the Saraville Economic and Redevelopment Agency
that I will perform the duties of the SERA Economic Redevelopment Agency
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my
in
ability,
accordance with the laws of the state of New Jersey
in accordance with the laws of the state of New Jersey
and then the United States.
and the United States.
And you can either say, I so affirm, or so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
At this time, I will take nominations for chairman. I'll nominate Kevin Delina. I need a second.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Bernie Baylor.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mrs. Duffy?
I abstain at this
Okay.
time.
Okay. Mrs. Backa?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Councilwoman Roberts?
Yes.
5 yes, 1 absent, passes.
Okay. Here's the gavel.
Take your name and take your name.
All right.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure being chairman.
Come on back here.
I'm gonna sit there.
Maybe call back into duty if Kevin can't make a meeting though.
Yeah, I guess.
Ken, so don't forget that.
Yeah. Just stay well, all right?
I will try.
Roll call of commissioners, please.
Mr. Scott?
Here, yes.
Mrs. Duffy?
Here.
Mrs. Backa? Here. Mr. Delina?
Here.
Mr. Bailey?
Yes, here.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Councilwoman Roberts? Here.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to accept the minutes from July 13, 2022, please?
I make a motion.
Second? Any second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call for that, please.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mrs. Backa? Abstain. Mr. Delina?
I abstain because I wasn't here.
Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Councilwoman Roberts?
Yes. Can I make a comment on the minutes?
Absolutely.
Could we have, where it says at the end, motion to adjourn, the time when we adjourn?
Absolutely. Joan? Joan?
Yes?
So the Commissioner's request is at the end of the minutes, if you can just note the time that we adjourn.
Oh, okay.
Okay, at the end. Good, thank you.
And excuse me, I have one comment too. I made a comment when we were reviewing the commissioners, and I just thought it was important that we asked for the proposals earlier. I don't think we had enough time to review it, and I just personally know what it takes to put together these things, and you probably know too. And I just asked that we do that a little bit earlier so all the commissioners can get to see everybody. So if you could put that in the minutes, I would appreciate it.
Yeah.
If I can address that, given your concerns as well as others who express similar concerns, what we'll try and do next year is, I don't know how detailed we got into it, but we talked about having
okay.
some hard copies submitted
Joe,
earlier.
It's in the
irrelevant.
minutes.
It was in there. It's
Oh, it's in
irrelevant.
there?
Yeah,
Okay.
never mind.
All right.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Show us.
Can I have
Yes, but we'll
Sorry.
adjust the procedure, yes.
Can I have authorization, I'm sorry, a motion to authorize the payments for bills not NL?
Can I ask a couple of questions about those first?
Absolutely.
Okay, so there are a couple of those that we don't get invoices for that are standard. can we separate those so that we have those delineated each time? in
Like the payroll taxes and those things?
And Joan, I think we are steady with her salary. I think,
We get invoices from Joan if they're not always, we do get,
but some of those, maybe we could group them so we can see them separately, just to make it easier to read. And I think that it says here authorization for bills in August. I had received June and July in the packet, not August. I don't know if it was a typo or if I just got the wrong months.
what reference is that, man?
Okay, let me show you.
Which letter? 5A and? or-
D, E, and F. So I have July for D, E, and F, and I have June for D, E, and F in my package, but this says August, and I don't think that.
Got, yes.
And also the July 2023 state taxes are 1,101.28, not zero, at least on this sheet.
Thank you. Joe, do you know if it should be June and July, or if July and August on this?
Well, I think we did no, it should be July and August, because those come in on a monthly basis regardless of whatever the adjustments. At a certain point of the year, payroll taxes, you pay your payroll taxes, your obligation for the year, and I rely on our accounting services to indicate when that is. So I think when it says zero, it means that we've paid our payroll taxes for the year, we've fulfilled our obligation to the state in that respect, and that's why it's zero.
Well, that's zero on the June sheet. On the July sheet, it's 1,100, 128. And it could just be, I got.
The months
in my note-
overlapped, yeah.
Or stuffed wrong, because it does say it's June, so I did not see one of these for August.
You do not see what from?
It's the date on this date.
Yeah, let me show you.
Yeah,
All right.
that's easy.
Sorry to make you.
That's okay. I have June and July, and here it's July and August.
Mhm.
So unless June represents the beginning of, I don't know.
I will, yeah, if you don't mind, I will check on this and I will,
Yeah, it could be
Goodbye
as
to the
simple as
point, right.
this being a typo, or just the wrong stuff, the
Yeah.
wrong one got stuffed in.
I
Do you want
will,
all these?
well, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, I don't
Okay, I will check on that, I will check the accountant if I could.
want. Okay, and,
And Donna, the other question was to separate those that are non-voucher items.
yes,
Into a different
please.
category.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's easier to see,
Yep.
because they're
Okay.
pretty standard.
All right, so you're not looking for a voucher on something that, yes,
That doesn't
okay.
get one, yeah.
Right, right. And then I think a couple of the other ones, I didn't get, just to make sure that they're the ones that would be in that category. Joan, there's Joe's package, there's STK accounting, so I'm assuming that those are standards. The newspaper notices and the home news. So those, I think, fall into that category.
Mhm.
That would be just helpful.
Very good.
Makes sense.
All right.
All right. Authorization for payments of bills non-N L paid through. Can I please have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Scott?
Yes, yes.
Mr. Daly?
Yes.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Councilwoman Robbins?
Yes, with those updates.
Okay. Authorization for payment of bills NL related non-escrow to be paid when funds are available, P through T. Can I please have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote?
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Daly?
Yes.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Councilwoman Robbins?
Yes.
5C, authorization for payment of bills to be paid from escrow accounts to be paid only if escrow funds are available,
I make a motion?
U through E. Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I do have, I thought I had this one answered with the other. I did not get the National Lead invoice. So as long as we have it as 1320?
It's EE, the last one. Donna?
EE, yes.
Roll call vote, please.
Okay. Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Councilwoman Robins?
Yes.
No business, nothing under that. Pending matters. Waterfront redevelopment.
Chairman, one new business item.
Oh,
It requires two signatures on the checks, and it had been Joe and Mike Diadio. Since Mike's no longer here, a motion would be in order to have the two check signers to be Joe and the new chairman.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
roll call vote, please.
You just
Mr.
vote aye.
Scott?
Yes.
Mrs. Jeffrey?
Yes.
Mrs. Vaca?
Yes.
Mr. Delana?
Yes.
Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Councilwoman Robins?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Joe, I'll get you the resolution. You can take over for the signature card to the bank.
Right. Pending matters, 7A, waterfront redevelopment.
Yes, Commissioners, continued progress is being made on the site. Infrastructure improvements are being made, and we're happy to have the developer here today of Riverton to go through and present an updated plan in their commercial service district.
All right. We're gonna do that now? or-
Yeah. They don't need to be, the witnesses will need to be sworn in. And they've all testified before, at least the professionals, we've qualified them as experts, so I don't think we need to re-qualify them. We'll continue the qualification as experts.
They may have one more though, right?
We may, if there's
Oh,
questions.
okay, we'll qualify them when we get to them. Thanks.
Okay. I'll just start with an opening. So, my name is Jennifer Phillips Smith, for the record. I'm an attorney with Gibbons PC. And on this application, I represent Saraville Seaport Associates Urban Renewal, which is the master developer for the project you commonly know as the Riverton Project. We've been here many times before over the last few years. And tonight, we're gonna be talking about an amendment to the plan that was granted approval by the planning board at a meeting in December of 2019. Their resolution was adopted in January of 2020. We called this our Phase 1 approvals. And many of you recall, it had three components. It had the Bass Pro Shops, it had the village, and then it had the Gateway Services area. The Gateway Services being the area that had been approved for things like drive-through restaurants, drive-through banks, drive-through pharmacy, geared towards the roadway as opposed to the interior village, which was the sort of more walkable, pedestrian-friendly area. We've already been back before you to seek amendments for Bass Pro, which within this last year, as we get near construction. And now, as we're starting to identify tenants for the Gateway Services, we're coming back to you seeking your consent for an amendment in order to tweak those buildings, two of which we will be talking tonight are being tweaked specifically for additional tenants. In the redevelopment agreement that SERA approved a while back, we are required to come before you before we can go to the planning board to seek your consent so that we can then make the application. So if you were to consent this evening, our next step would be to present this plan to the planning board for a formal amendment to the previously approved site plan. So tonight we have Mark Fetta and Dan Bush who are going to really walk through the proposed changes to the Gateway Services area. And I'll start with Mark, who will give a little bit of an overview of where we are with Riverton and why we're seeking your approval for these changes.
Thank you, Jen. Good evening, everybody. Pleasure to be here again tonight. As Jen mentioned, I'm the Senior Vice President of Development for North American Properties in the Northeast region, but most significantly, that includes our Riverton project. In that capacity, I direct all the planning, the engineering, architecture, and design efforts on the project. Additionally, all construction operations align under my control, and that makes me ultimately responsible for safety, quality, schedule, and budget compliance on the project. And we rank them in that order: safety and quality, especially on this project, is above everything else. I'm on the job 5 days a week, 10 to 12 hours a day. right here in Riverton with our in-house team, our contractors and consultants. Since I'm in charge of the project, I'm knowledgeable about all of the aspects of the redevelopment project. And the only reason I say that is, most importantly, you know, we're a complete open book on the project, and I just want to extend an invitation to anybody with the board, you know, with concurrence from the SERA executive director and his staff, that, you know, we're here to answer questions and, you know, be there for you as we move through development. Before we present the merits of this application, I'll expand a little bit on Dave's update relative to construction and development progress. Over the last several months since we've, subsequent to when we were here last. And all of these improvements we're gonna talk about are horizontal improvements. There's been no vertical construction on the project as yet. And all those horizontal elements are comprised within this exhibit that we'll refer to often in the meeting today. I'll start off with Bass Pro, though we haven't started construction there yet. The Bass Pro architect and their engineering team have been working with me and my team diligently since they're on the core and shell design package, since their approval earlier this year from SERA and the planning board to make the modifications to the building. In fact, they promised me that full set of plans tomorrow by close of business. They've given us 2 sets of plans already, progress sets. There's 100 sheets total, over 100 sheets total. It's a big building, it's a very complicated design. So this is important because it signifies their commitment to the project. They must have spent, you know, easily 7 figures on their design up to this point in time. We can also report that the permit for that building's foundations is ready to be picked up from the building department. We'll grab that early next week. We've also gone ahead and placed orders for some of the key building components that have exceptionally long lead times in today's market. And that includes the electrical transformer and the emergency generator. There's like a year and a half to secure those key pieces of material, so let's go ahead and get them ordered while we're still finishing up the building permit and finishing the lease, in fact. We've also constructed water and sewer and electric duct bank utilities extending into the site off of Main Street Extension to service the Bass Pro building. That's significant as well. We've also commenced the widening process for Riverton Boulevard, formerly Chevalier Avenue. And it sounds easy, but there's about 10 or 12 intricate little steps to take existing utilities out of commission and then come back and put new utilities in. So that process is underway, including some of the improvements that we're required to perform on Epic Church's property. We've started construction of the parking lot in this corner of their site, and we'll soon be starting the reconfiguration of this parking lot, so that's significant. I'll move over to the pump station, which is in this area here. It's not well shown there, well illustrated, but it was subdivided, and we have a site plan approval, as you may recall, from our 2019 submittal. Again, a lot of work has occurred. We have the earthwork has been brought up to grade there, significant fills, about 5 feet. The wood pilings, the support pilings for the building are in fabrication. They'll be delivered, and we'll start driving those pilings on October 16th. The construction permit, again, for the foundations has been issued, and we do have that permit in our possession now. Additionally, we've just yesterday, we completed the next round of our architectural and engineering plans for the building, which have been revised per initial review comments from the borough engineer, and we will deliver those to the borough engineer tomorrow for the next round of review comments on the building, architecture and engineering. I'll turn to Village East, which we've always referred to as Phase 1C. Couple of highlights here. All the geotech improvements, including deep dynamic compaction and structural fill, have been completed for both actually the East Village and the West Village. And so we've elevated the grade there. In this entire zone, we're now at development-ready subgrade.
Mark,
we've-
what was the elevation rise overall for that area?
It varied quite a bit, but it was max about 10 feet. Yep. And that kind of leads into the next point, Mike, and that is the V-zone wall that we've constructed this year. It's 950 feet long, and that's what enabled us to fill up to the edge of development on the site.
And for our new commissioner, the V-zone wall is?
It's a velocity zone wall, and what that does is it enables us it was enabled under the waterfront development permit application that DEP approved, and it enables us to fill this portion of the site and get ourselves out of the flood hazard zone. And do you want to elaborate
Most
on that at all?
importantly, it protects the site
From
from
floods.
any of the wave action that might occur during a storm on the river.
Right, it keeps the waterfront promenade low and the village elevated and protected.
What's it called again?
It's the velocity zone wall.
V-zone.
V-zone wall.
velocity zone.
Additionally, deep sanitary infrastructure for both the east and west village has been completed surrounding this area, and that was done by virtue of the recent TWA permit that was approved by DEP. We're now in a major push for the rest of the calendar year that we can fill season and moving into next year with structural fill in Peter Fisher Boulevard. That's significant because it will enable us to put the utilities in to service the pump station. For everyone here, a pump station it serves the entirety of parcels A and B, all the development on the site. And so it needs to be functional, commissioned, and operating for the very first tenant that moves in and takes occupancy.
What is it pumping?
It's the,
It's the
He's an
wastewater.
engineer, he
connected to the
can't help
for-
it.
It's connected to the force main, which we have about half of the force main completed that connects to the sanitary sewer facility with MC Way. Any other questions right now? Continue.
I have a question.
Sure.
You made a comment about Riverton Road,
Riverton
Riverton Boulevard,
Yes,
and you said it was formerly Chevalier Avenue?
yes, it's renamed, that's part of our prior approvals.
So there's not gonna be a Chevalier Avenue anymore?
Not on the site, it will still exist off-site.
It will.
It's the portion, once you actually come in to Riverton, it's changed.
So when you
It's
come
still
off the Main
Chevrolet.
Street extension here.
Okay.
When you make the left.
The abandoned portion right now of Chevalier is now Riverton Boulevard.
It's the portion you really largely can't drive on, that's being renamed.
It's being renamed,
Right.
okay.
And widened. That's the main entrance to the Riverton project now. Talk a little bit about the Victory substation, which is located in this position here. This is a JCP&L 30 megawatt substation that we were contracted with JCP&L to build. They've just recently finished their preliminary engineering, and we now have agreement additionally with them on the configuration for their easement that they'll need to access the substation. Similarly to Bass Pro, we've compelled JCP&L to order the major transformers. They have a 2-year lead time. They're made in Germany, so that we can get ahead of things and have those delivered. They'll be necessary to power the village itself. We do have a reservation for sufficient power from the existing grid off of Main Street Extension for phases 1A and 1B.
Including
And the pump
Bass Pro.
station.
Is that 2 years from now, or you've already done it?
It's 2 years for them to deliver the transformer.
So 2 years from today?
2 years from probably 2 weeks ago. Yeah. And then Dan and his team on the geotech side are working with me on designing the foundations and the substructure to support all JCP&L's equipment in that yard facility. So that takes us to phase 1B, which is Gateway Services, the subject of our appearance before you this evening. Just a little backdrop, beginning about this time last year, the retail market has began to express significant leasing interest in this sector of the property. So consequently, we've been focusing this year on constructing horizontal infrastructure work activities that are necessary to deliver these pad-ready sites. That includes electric, water, and sanitary sewer has been constructed and connected to the municipal grid, and it's now connected up to this area, so we are able to stub off now and service those parcels. The electric duct bank that we've installed has enabled JCP&L to install their switching equipment, and significantly, we now have the first energized power first leg into the property with primary power servicing the Riveting project, so another pretty sizable achievement. Just kind of finish off here, you know, in my role, I'm also involved heavily with our primary leasing professional and SSA's asset manager. So at this time, I can report that we're consummating several lease deals, which we'll talk about in a minute, that we've identified as being viable. And I'm also charged with executing and delivering those lease premises to those tenants. We'll be talking tonight about Quick Check in this portion of the site and Chick-fil-A, who we're proposing to go in this corner of the site. In 2019, this incidentally was a pharmacy building, which we've relocated. The pharmacy market, if you will, is more interested in this portion, and this site here fits well with the Chick-fil-A. Both of the architects are highly engaged. They're expending resources just like Bass Pro, and so that evidence is in the architectural plans that we submitted along with our package. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so in addition to the front two parcels, these parcels on Peter Fisher are not quite as far along, though we do have very strong interest in them. And what you'll notice in our plans is both these buildings are now multi-tenant buildings. We hope to be here late this year or in January with modification, if necessary, to those buildings. On the other hand, I think we have sufficient information from them. I don't think those buildings are gonna change very much. So we should be able to roll right into leasing there. With this background, you know, Dan will spend a little bit more time on some of the details of what we're proposing here. Before he does, though, I want to take the opportunity, pending again agency's personnel's permission, we'd like to extend an invitation to new board members and prior board members who we know already to come to the site, visit with me and my team, and we'll show you what we're doing and how we're doing it, and again, be happy to answer any questions. We're really proud of what we're doing. We're really proud of the accomplishments to date, and I can promise you that we'll continue to work very hard every day to make this project a reality for the citizens of Sayreville. Last point I'll make is that this year, we've averaged about $2.5 million of work in place every month with all the infrastructure work that I just described in some detail here. So,
Every month?
with that.
That was
Dan,
every month,
switch
200
over.
million every month.
$2.5 million every month.
2.5
On
million.
average, yeah. Winter time's a little bit less.
I heard
summertime-
200, that's why I was like 2.5.
That's like 30 million that's like 30 million this year.
Yes, that's correct.
Wow.
Okay, Dan? Yeah, we'll switch. Dan's here.
Mark, while Dan's switching, what's the latest status on the Bass Pro Foundation permitting?
We have, we're picking that up next week.
Excellent.
Yep,
Permits will be issued next week.
permits will be issued then. Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
already have the one for the pump station.
Mr. Chairman, before we move on, I have a question for CME. You have the setbacks, the 35-foot setback, and the Chick-fil-A is not, well, we need a waiver because they are outside of that, they're within that 35-foot setback to the utility facility.
So they are actually 47.3 feet from the public utility
That's the
authority.
quick check.
That's the
kind of-
Chick-fil-A from the Public Utility Authority.
Okay, so, but it says the drive-through, the canopy is within the 25,
So
so
that's a structure and that doesn't have a minimum setback.
you answered the question.
All right, for the record, Dan Bush, I'm the site civil and responsible charge for the project. I've been involved with this project for 15 years. Been before the agency on a number of occasions, so thank you for letting me speak to you this evening.
And for the record, Mr. Bush has been qualified previously as an expert when he's testified.
Thanks, Mike. Just briefly, this is the 2019 approved plan. This is just the gateway services portion of the site. Just to orient the board, what was previously approved. There was a convenience store with gas canopy, pharmacy as Mark indicated, 2 retail pads, a bank and a retail pad basically adjacent to MCUA, and then a restaurant, 2 restaurant pads out on Peter Fisher Boulevard. So a total of 6 buildings. Substantively, we haven't changed much. We now have a real tenant, Quick Check, that will be located in that same convenience store location that was on the prior plan. We now have Chick-fil-A, which was previously one of the 2 pads out on Peter Fisher. That's now been relocated here to the southeast corner. We still have a bank with a drive-through adjacent to MCUA, but what you'll notice now, there's only 1 tenant adjacent to MCUA. This was the worst location within Gateway Services from a tenant standpoint, so we actually made this area smaller, made these 2 areas adjacent to Peter Fisher larger, and these are more desirable locations. And then we still have three restaurant with drive-through tenants that will be multi-tenanted. And what we've done is we've added the portion to the west of the drive aisle that lines up with Epic Church. So that's, just for nomenclature, lot 105 is to the left, and lot 24 is to the right. So east lot and west lot. They're all, you know, conforming with the uses permitted in the waterfront redevelopment. Couple improvements with this plan is, I think the most notable is that this drive aisle, the east-west drive aisle, is now straight. There was previously a jog in this location. It was a little, I'll use the word convoluted, for lack of a better word. These north-south drives are in the exact same location. This is still signalized. This is still, the eastern one is still right in, right out. And the drive on Main Street Extension is still in the same location, right in, right out. So circulation-wise, this is an improvement. From a pedestrian circulation standpoint, so there was previously sidewalk on the north side of Peter Fisher and on the west side of Main Street Extension. That sidewalk, which was basically effectively sidewalk to nowhere, has been taken out. It's now green area, which I would suggest is an improvement. But more importantly is there's now defined pedestrian connections from the public sidewalk, which is on the south side of Peter Fisher, directly in the Quick Check. And similarly, the sidewalk from Peter Fisher gives direct access to Chick-fil-A. Those are 2 improvements. None of that was on the prior plan. So those are significant improvements. Within Peter Fisher itself, we still retain the same bike lanes. The sidewalk configuration on the south side is exactly the same, and it brings you out to Main Street Extension. If you look closely enough, you might note some subtle differences in some of the geometry as we approach Main Street Extension, and that was purely because of the traffic signal was actually physically been installed, and we had to make some adjustments to get around equipment, signal posts, things of that nature. The landscaping on Peter Fisher remains the same. It's still got the double staggered row. And then the landscaping within what I'll call the Gateway Services site complies. That will meet the 10% requirement. In Dave's letter, you'll note that he makes reference to that Main Street Extension doesn't have the double staggered row as is shown on Peter Fisher, and that does require relief. That's the same relief that was granted previously, and that provides good visibility into the site for the public as they're traversing in the vicinity of the site. Parking wise, we're well over parked on both lots, looking at 105, the west lot, and 24, the east lot. We far exceed the four per thousand requirement. And it's also noted on the plans that the EV requirements will be met. So to the east, that requires 12, of which one needs to be an ADA space. And on the west, we need 2, and 1 of which will need to be an ADA space. So that's the 4, you need 4% of the parking you're providing, and then 5% of the EV parking has to be ADA accessible. And these are all make-ready, so and they'll be set up with the conduit and that type of stuff. They may not necessarily be built, I'll just say, day one. That kind of gives you a pretty broad overview of what we're talking about here with the type of changes, so happy to answer questions.
So Dan, so most of these changes are brought about because of the needs of the tenants, but
Correct.
but it also works, it comes out with a better plan from your standpoint.
Correct. So you have specific tenants, the Quick Check and the Chick-fil-A, drove the, I'll call it the changes on Main Street extension. And as Mark was describing, the leasing interest, I'll call it for the pads that are further to the west, drove most of this reconfiguration, particularly the elimination of the pad adjacent to the MC Way, excuse me.
So your next step, if the commissioners bless this tonight, would be to go back to the planning board for an amended site plan. But I think Jen also mentioned that, or maybe Mark did, that you might be back again if another tenant has a particular building that needs changing.
Yeah, right, if some of the tenants in there, we're making our best guess based on information we have today, that the layout we're presenting to you is what we're gonna go with. But if a tenant comes along and needs changes, then we'll have to come back. if
That's
those
always
changes
the
are
case on a
material.
redevelopment project.
Right.
Thanks, Dave, you beat me to that.
Yeah, exactly.
And for the new commissioners, since they're a redevelopment agency, they can't get to the planning board unless we give the blessing to the concept plans first.
Thanks, Mike.
Justin, why don't you provide our report?
Yeah, we reviewed the report. We found that it was largely consistent with the previously approved plans. And we found that it was also mostly consistent with the waterfront redevelopment plan. It met all the setbacks, it met the architectural requirements, the lot coverage, the parking, et cetera. The only issues we found, which they noted, were the landscaping along Main Street extension. However, that was previously approved. And also a minor sidewalk issue where the waterfront redevelopment plan calls for 5 feet from each building. However, that was also approved the previous approval. So we found that it largely follows the waterfront redevelopment plan, and we agree with its approval.
Any questions from the commissioners?
So it would be, yeah, and we'll get back to a resolution later. For the commissioners who are interested in tours, Dave, did we coordinate it through your office last time?
Absolutely. Anybody who wants to go through and do a tour will coordinate. Just give me a call at the office.
Is there a need for private executive session?
Yes, we have a few things to discuss, Jim.
I have a motion to go into closed.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
We won't be long.
Thank you.
Yeah. Resolution providing for the holding of private executive. Approving the site plan.
And then bring up Joe. Where's that?
Yeah, we can do a section on that, a resolution.
Okay. All right, resolution, please.
Chairman, a question for Dave first. Dave, do we need to have your letter as a condition of the resolution, or since the project meets everything?
No, I think ours, basically, you don't have to make it as a
Okay.
condition.
So, resolution of the Saraville Economic and Redevelopment Agency consenting to redeveloper's proposed application to the Sayreville Planning Board for amended preliminary and final site plan approval of the Gateway Services District in connection with the waterfront redevelopment project.
Can I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mrs. Duffy?
Yes.
Mrs. Thacker?
Yes.
Mr. Delina?
Yes.
Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Councilwoman Robert?
Yes.
Can we also have a resolution to extend our executive director until the end of July?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mrs. Duffy?
Abstain.
Mrs. Thacker?
I'm gonna abstain.
Mr. Delina?
Yes.
Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Councilwoman Robert?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any comments from the commissioners? No? Okay, make a motion to open up the meeting to the public, if anyone from the public wishes to speak. Please raise your hand. All right, seeing that no one from the public wishes to speak, can I please have a motion to close the public session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, can I please have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Painless, right?